So at present, the three of you are here. We can start just quickly by going through what we were covering in the previous class. Just a quick recap. Now, if you recall, this is section 4, operations management, section 4. And in operations management, first we learned how to differentiate between the terms effectiveness, efficiency, and productivity. Then, of course, this was followed by operation methods, and we were in the process of learning something about lean production. Lean production happens to be an extremely important topic. If you go through the past papers last few years, this question, lean production, directly, indirectly, because it's a combination of different techniques. This has appeared on so many different occasions. And I would say in section 4, in operations management, this has to be one of the most important, or possibly the most important topic in terms of, the probability of finding a question based on this in the papers. So in lean production, what we've learned so far is that it's a combination of numerous Japanese techniques, namely flexible specialism, JIT stock management, just-in-time stock management. Then we have Kaizen. Then there is quality circles. So the combination of these 4 techniques, I repeat, flexible specialism, JIT, just-in-time stock management, Kaizen, and quality cycles. The combination of these 4 techniques is referred to as lean production. And just keep in mind that the basic or the primary objective behind all these techniques, lean production techniques, is to maximize quality and minimize wastage. Maximize quality and minimize wastage. So behind all these techniques that fall under lean production, I repeat, flexible specialism, just-in-time stock management, Kaizen, and quality circles, the primary objective is to maximize quality and minimize wastage behind all these. And also remember, all 4, these are independent topics, these are independent techniques. And you can always expect a separate independent question based on each one of these. But whenever you come across the term lean production, that means these 4 have to be combined into one answer. Okay. So we were in the process of going through flexible specialism, technique number 1. And what we've learned so far is, in flexible specialism, we'll discuss these techniques separately now, all 4 of these. Flexible specialism, it basically demands that, in the opinion of these Japanese entrepreneurs who are behind the entire concept of lean production, and I think mentioned this previously also, it is Japanese in origin, this lean production, the concept. So the Japanese entrepreneurs, they are of the opinion that a business organization that wants to achieve long-term success, it has to show a high degree of flexibility in all its operations. That's the crux. As far as flexible specialism is concerned, the requirement is that all business organizations, they must exhibit a high degree of flexibility, in all their operations. A high degree of flexibility in all their operations. People joining in, we are discussing flexible specialism here as a part of lean production, as a part of section 4, operations management. Right? So what we were discussing is that the Japanese entrepreneurs, they believe, and they're firmly of the opinion that if a business organization wishes to achieve long-term success, it has to show flexibility in all its operations. Flexibility obviously means showing, making adjustments. There's no need to be rigid. There's no need to be inflexible. You have to make adjustments in all your operations, keeping in view the prevailing circumstances or the market conditions. So be flexible in your approach if you want to achieve long-term success. And then flexible specialism is further classified into three types. We'll go through these three types. There's numerical flexibility, there's functional flexibility, and then there's time flexibility, right? Flexible specialism is classified, it is divided into numerical flexibility, functional flexibility, and time flexibility. I repeat, flexible specialism is classified between numerical, functional, and time flexibility, right? And the basic purpose I've just defined, I've just highlighted, is to be flexible in your approach. Now, part A, numerical flexibility. I might have mentioned this before. Numerical, obviously, the term numerical, it refers to anything that deals with numbers, right? So numerical flexibility says that the number of workers should be flexible, right? You need to understand this. This is an important topic. The number of workers, the size of the workforce, that should be adjustable. The size of the workforce has to be adjustable. This is what numerical flexibility is all about, right? The size of the workforce, it has to be flexible, keeping in view the existing workload, keeping in view the level of demand, etc. Right? So the number of workers that you hire, that number has to be flexible, that has to be adjustable. The size of the workforce has to be adjustable, right? Flexibility in the size of the workforce, that's numerical flexibility primarily. But you see, you have to analyze this, you have to evaluate this. I mean, there are so many professions, there are so many industries in which we have numerical flexibility. We have this in construction, we have it in tourism, we have this in these agriculture-based industries. Numerical flexibility, they hire people when the season is on, they let them go when the season comes to an end, and then they rehired also next year. So yes, this is very common. But you see, you have to keep in mind, and you have to mention this also when you're attempting a question on numerical flexibility and generally flexible specialism, that purely in hardcore business terms, maybe this is the right thing to do, because as a result of this, they will keep a check on their costs. They're not going to maintain a huge workforce, irrespective of the level of workload, right? They're not going to maintain a huge workforce. They're not going to pay them round the year, even if there is no workload. So yes, in hardcore business terms, numerical flexibility makes sense, because as a business person, you're supposed to control your costs, right? But then in social terms, if you want to be a little humane, and you want to fulfill your CSR, your corporate social responsibility, if you want to act in an ethically responsible manner, we've done this in section 1 also, then maybe this is not the right thing to do. That you are not showing any concern. You are not bothered about the problems that your workers would face when they're laid off, when the workforce is downsized, let's suppose, because there's a reduction in workload, obviously. So you are not fulfilling your CSR in that way. And one more thing. If you remember, there was a very important part, section 2, in people and organizations. You have to make sure that you keep revising everything. In section 2, remember, of course, motivation is an integral part of section 2. And what did Maslow say? What was need number 2 in Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Security needs, job security. So this is obviously a negation of job security. This is a violation of job security, right? That you don't have a long-term contract with your workers. You can ask them to leave whenever you want to, without giving them a notice first. So this is a clear-cut violation of the concept of job security, which is a major motivational tool, in the words of Maslow, also otherwise also, job security. So when you have numerical flexibility, that means you are not giving much importance to job security, right? So you can mention this also. And the workers will be demotivated, needless to say. But this is numerical flexibility. This is what they're suggesting. The size of the workforce should be adjustable. Number one. Part B in flexible specialism, that is called functional flexibility. Functional flexibility, that's part B. Now, as the name suggests, functional flexibility as a part of course, flexible specialism, as a part of lean production, as a part of operation methods, that's the title of the section, project and operations methods, section 4. So this functional flexibility means that a business should hire multi-skilled workforce. They should hire multi-skilled workers. That is functional flexibility, that you're supposed to hire multi-skilled workers. Workers who can perform a variety of tasks. That is functional flexibility. You should hire workers who can perform a variety of tasks, right? By doing this, obviously, these workers, they'll make a greater contribution towards the betterment of the organization, good for the company, good for the employees themselves also. Because when they learn different skills, it's good for their career growth, right? And of course, the training is a non-financial motivator also. They probably enjoy their work more. They can overcome monotony. So if you have a multi-skilled workforce, that is like a win-win situation for everyone, the employers and the employees. So the second part of flexible specialism is that one must hire workers who are multi-skilled, multifunctional. A worker should know how to perform a variety of tasks. Either hire workers who are multi-skilled or people who are already working there. Try to make sure that as they work there, they learn new skills, right? Again, refer to section 2, job rotation. Remember job rotation, when you switch from one department to another, temporarily to learn new skills, and then you go back to your parent department, original department. So this is what job rotation is this is what a company is trying to achieve through job rotation, right? So when you rotate your workers, when you switch your workers from one department to another so that they learn new skills, that is job rotation. And this is, they're aiming at, this is the ultimate goal that they want to achieve, that they want to create or have a workforce that is multi-skilled. So you see, at this stage in A2, since we've done the syllabus, a major portion, in fact, there are topics that we are going through again also, you should know how to combine various topics into one answer. Don't keep yourself confined or restricted to one topic or one section. Your overall knowledge of the subject has to be displayed. So though this is section 4, this topic, obviously, lean production under discussion, but anything which is relevant, doesn't matter if it's a part of some other section, some other topic, some other area, you should try to combine various topics into one answer if you feel it is relevant and it adds to the quality of the answer. You have to keep this in mind, which reminds me, for your assessments, if I'm not mistaken, scheduled for maybe end of October, whenever we're going to have your next assessments, it's going to be paper 2, data response. You'll be getting a data response paper 2, you know what the pattern is. There'll be a data response passage, and you will have to refer to the passage. You know what the pattern is, paper 2. So basically, paper 2, data response, that's what you'll be required to attempt whenever you have your assessments, right? Refer to the context, refer to the passage, and then, of course, try to comment on a situation. Overall knowledge of the subject, all these sections, obviously, that will prove to be quite handy. And as you know, in paper 2, you don't only have to display knowledge, you have to apply it also with reference to that particular passage. For instance, If something is categorically mentioned there, it's a pharmaceutical company, then establish a link to the pharmaceutical company. Remember, we had a detailed discussion on questions based on ethics, for instance, something similar to that. That, if you have to discuss, just hypothetically, if you have to discuss the importance of ethical issues for a car manufacturer, mold the answer accordingly. If you want to discuss the importance of ethics for a pharmaceutical company, mold the answer accordingly. If it's an airline and aircraft manufacturer, make adjustments accordingly. That's very, very important, right? Both in case of the data response passages, paper 2, and of course the case studies, paper 3 also, which we will be practicing soon, these P3s, once we go through all these topics. But for the time being, your next assessments, the curriculum, the syllabus, the pattern, it's going to be paper 2, right? Okay, so continuing with the discussion, functional flexibility, that basically means that a worker should know how to perform a variety of tasks, perform a variety of functions, so that he makes a greater contribution towards the success of the company. And for his, for his own career growth also, this is something positive. Number 3 is time flexibility. Time flexibility, that's number 3. So time flexibility, this is obviously a part of flexible specialism. Time flexibility, it simply says that the working hours should be flexible. The working hours have to be adjustable. Time flexibility demands that the working hours, they have to be adjustable, right? Meaning that there's no need to specify the working hours in the contract. By the way, this is called a 0-hour contract. You should note this down. This terminology is important. 0-hour contract. 0-hour contract, H-O-U-R. 0-hour contract is the one which is, this is a trend which has evolved in the last few years. 0-hour contract, this means that the contract of employment, it does not include any directions, or it does not have a clause regarding the working hours. The working hours are not specified. It is not mentioned there that it's going to be a 9 to 5 job or whatever. This is called a 0-hour contract, that the working hours, the decision regarding the working hours, it is absolutely up to the manager or the management to decide. After assessing the workload and everything, the manager will decide whether he needs to extend the working hours, reduce the working hours, right? So this is what time flexibility is. Flexible working hours after assessing the workload. So the manager obviously will decide whether the working hours can be extended or reduced. Obviously, this particular factor, it favors the employers more, or quite obviously, because the manager will decide, and he will obviously try to make sure that the workers are as productive as possible. So the employees might not be too happy with this, because in most of the cases, there are chances that the working hours is going to be extended rather than being reduced. But time flexibility is also important. Adjust the working hours as per requirement, right? So I hope you have understood this topic, flexible specialism, which includes numerical flexibility, functional flexibility, and time flexibility. Do not forget to mention 0-hour contracts there, right? Okay. The next topic to be discussed here, an extremely important topic, just-in-time stock management, JIT or just-in-time stock management, right? That's the next topic that comes under lean production, just-in-time JIT stock management, extremely important topic. Okay, in order to understand JIT or just-in-time stock management, which is a stock management technique, JIT, if you wish to make sure that you have a very firm grip over JIT, try to discuss this like a comparative analysis with the concept of bulk buying, right? People joining in, we just covered flexible specialism as a part of lean production. And now we're about to start just-in-time stock management, the next technique. So JIT, in a way, it negates a very important principle of business, the principle of bulk buying. JIT goes against the principle of bulk buying. And as we all know, bulk buying is something which is so commonly followed, bulk buying, that, usually if you want to, if the current demand is 10,000 kilograms, you might like to purchase 25,000 kilograms or 20,000 kilograms so that the seller or the supplier, he offers discounts to you, right? This is a common practice. You buy in bulk so that you enjoy economies of scale, purchasing economies of scale. That's what the trend is, right? But this JIT stock management, just in time, which we are about to discuss, it suggests that stocks should be acquired, stocks should be purchased strictly in accordance with the immediate requirement. I repeat, JIT says stocks should be purchased strictly in accordance with the immediate requirement, right? In accordance with the immediate requirement. So obviously, like I said, this is a negation, this is a violation of bulk buying, the principle of bulk buying. That there's no need to purchase material in excess. Don't purchase material in excess of the immediate requirement. No need to do that. Purchase material in accordance with the immediate requirement, current requirement, right? So basically in JIT, we maintain, or the manufacturer maintains, a low level of stocks. And JIT, you're supposed to maintain a low level of stocks. And you are not purchasing inventory in a very large quantity in bulk, not in excess of the immediate requirement. That's JIT. And that is why I was saying it clearly negates the principle of bulk buying, because bulk buying says purchase material in excess of the immediate requirement so that you get some discounts from the suppliers. You enjoy purchasing economies of scale, right? So keep this in mind. It will, by doing that, you will find it easier when you attempt a question on JIT, which is a very frequently asked question. In a way, whatever you know about bulk buying, that has to be reversed in this case, more or less. So let's try and discuss this. And also remember, just in time is an integral part of stock management. And in JIT, you have to make sure that, if you come across the exact term JIT or lean production, then your job is easier. You have to discuss the pros and cons. But in many cases, we have seen in paper 1, in paper 2, and in paper 3, that they will drop a hint, they will create a situation, and you will have to use your judgment. And you will have to decide that, yes, in this situation, JIT should be discussed. I'll just give you an idea. Wherever you come across the phrase lowering stock levels, on so many occasions I've observed in the past papers, the manufacturer, he decides to lower the stock level, and then you have to discuss the implications. So basically, they want you to discuss JIT. Lowering stock levels, any question in which directly or indirectly the reduction in stock levels is mentioned or discussed, they want you to focus on JIT. Okay, let's go through the advantages first of using JIT stock management. The first advantage of using JIT stock management just in time is that it plays a key role in bringing down the stock holding costs. JIT plays a key role in bringing down the stock holding costs, right? Because you're maintaining a low level of stocks. So there will be a reduction in your stock holding costs, or sometimes they're called warehousing costs also, or holding costs. Holding costs, stock holding costs, warehousing costs. There will be a reduction in that because you are not maintaining a high level of stocks, maintaining a low level. But remember this, I mean, generally with reference to your assessments, your examination, CIs. The difference between a mediocre answer and an above average answer is that in a mediocre answer, you will obviously you will highlight the fact, you will discuss it briefly maybe, but in an above average answer, there is a bit of elaboration. You understand this? I mean, considering this example, the advantage is, as a result of JIT, because they're maintaining a low level of stocks, the stock holding costs drop. That's fine. But before you jump on to the next advantage, like I said, a bit of elaboration is recommended. Try to explain it to the examiner that yes, the stock holding costs will go down, but how? Those specific points have to be added to the answer. For instance, I'll give you 2, 3, 4 examples. Stock holding costs go down. Why? Because you need smaller warehouses now. Because you're maintaining a low level of stock, so obviously you don't need a lot of storage space for this purpose. So your warehouses, you need smaller warehouses. Your workforce can be downsized for maintenance purposes. You don't have to maintain a huge workforce because you're maintaining a low level of stocks. Right? Another point, this is in continuation of the first advantage, reduction in stock holding costs. So smaller warehouses, smaller workforce, insurance premium drops. Insurance premium drops. Because when you are maintaining stocks, generally in many countries by law it is compulsory, and generally this is something which is recommended also. Your inventory is insured, because you would like to make sure that it is well protected, it is safe. So stocks or inventory, it is insured. So if you're maintaining a low level of stocks, then obviously the insurance premium drops. You don't have to spend a lot of money on insurance for this purpose. So lower insurance premium also contributes toward lower stock holding costs. What else? Wastage is minimized. Wastage is minimized because you're maintaining a low level of stocks. Obviously, if you purchase less will be wasted. Another plus point, wasted. Chances of obsolescence. I hope you all know what obsolescence means. Obsolescence, when something becomes obsolete, when something becomes outdated, when something's out of fashion, obsolete, outdated, obsolescence. So as a result of JIT, chances of obsolescence are also minimized. Because obviously you purchase material keeping in view the precise level of demand that exists at the moment. Right? So as a result of this, obviously, chances that your stocks, your inventory, it will be wasted or it will become, outdated, the chances are minimal. As, like I said, as compared to what we observe in bulk buying. In bulk buying, there are chances that some of the products, they might expire. Their products, they have a limited shelf life. That could be an issue. They might become obsolete. So that's another plus point. And you save money in so many other ways also. Utility bills go down, electricity bills, so on and so forth. So all these factors contribute towards the main point, which is reduction in stock holding costs. Reduction in stock holding costs. Right? Reduction in stock holding costs. So this is the point that I was trying to underline, that when you mention something, always try to elaborate. Okay. Now, in addition to this, the next major advantage of using JIT stock management, JIT is way more flexible. It is way more flexible than bulk buying. JIT is a much more flexible stock management technique as compared to bulk buying. Way more flexible. It adds the element of flexibility to business or to a production process. In fact, we just discussed flexibility also, flexible specialism. Okay, so it brings flexibility to a business. What does that mean? Like it just mentioned, you have to explain. You see, when you're using JIT, just-in-time stock management, the manufacturer is going to purchase raw material, keeping in view the ongoing trend, right? That when he observes that a product designed in this particular way, a product, if it is in demand and this particular color is in demand, you are manufacturing pens, for instance, markers, for instance, and you observe that currently black markers are in demand. So you will purchase raw material for black markers, right? In JIT. And when the purchasing pattern of customers changes, right? When the trends change, then it should not be a problem for the manufacturer. Quickly, he can switch to red markers now, and he will start purchasing raw material for red markers. So that is why we say it is more flexible. You can make quick adjustments in your production pattern, in your purchasing pattern, keeping in mind the lifestyle or the ongoing trends with respect to the target audience. As opposed to, again, bulk buying. In bulk buying, let's suppose you have already purchased a huge amount of raw material for black markers. Now the demand changes. Now what would the company do? It will prove to be risky. Now the demand changes. They have already purchased the raw material and their warehouses. In the warehouses, they have kept that raw material. Now either that will be wasted or they will have to sell it at low price. Not an ideal situation. So that is why we say JIT is more flexible than bulk buying, because you can make quick adjustments in accordance with the prevailing or changing market conditions. And in a superior answer, the student will use the term market orientation here. Wouldn't you agree? Market orientation, customer orientation, that this JIT helps a business in achieving the goal of market or customer orientation, doing what the customers want you to do, right? Customer or market orientation, right? So if you want to achieve the goal of market orientation, doing what the customers want you to do, then this JIT seems to be a much better option than bulk buying. So flexibility, the second major point. Number 3, JIT is quite effective in improving the cash flow position of a business. Quite effective in improving the cash flow position of a business. Right? How? You see, as a result of JIT, as a result of adopting the strategy, you can make sure that your funds are not tied up. The funds, they're not tied up, they're not blocked, because you're purchasing in a small quantity. This is not bulk buying. Funds are tied up in case you're engaged in bulk buying. Right? So because your funds are not tied up, you're not spending a huge amount of money unnecessarily on purchase of stocks. That means JIT can prove to be a useful technique when it comes to bringing about an improvement in your cash flow position, financial stability, right? So that is also something that should be added to the list of advantages. The cash flow position improves, and the reason I just highlighted, you have to mention that they're purchasing material, inventory in a small quantity, so the funds will not be tied up. Another very, very important point. Then I would like you to add one more advantage of just-in-time, or one more factor that supports just-in-time stock management. And that is that JIT is a recommended technique. It's a recommended technique, stock management technique, obviously, for managing products which are perishable. products which are perishable, products which have a limited shelf life, products which will expire quickly, like food items, medicines, in which quality has to be maintained, freshness has to be maintained, it is essential, then JIT is a much effective, much better option as compared to bulk buying, because quality has to be maintained, like I just mentioned. So for perishable items, products with limited shelf life, JIT should be chosen as a stock management technique. Right? Okay. So we have, I think, we have sufficient amount of points that support the decision taken by a manufacturer of using JIT or switching to JIT. But now, since you should expect questions which are evaluation based on just-in-time stock management, the other side also has to be discussed. How can this possibly backfire JIT stock management? Right? So the first drawback of using JIT and not bulk buying is obviously that the manufacturer won't be in a good position to enjoy economies of scale. Won't be in a position to enjoy economies of scale. Because he's purchasing in a small quantity. And since he's not engaged in bulk buying, he won't get any discounts from the suppliers. So that could be a serious issue. No economies of scale. Because economies of scale obviously are associated with bulk buying. And that's like I think, a major distinguishing feature. When you have to make up your mind and you have to do your calculations, this has to be kept in mind that in bulk buying, there are greater economies of scale than JIT. So that's a drawback. Economies of scale they're not enjoyed. Average cost will rise. This can prove to be expensive for a business organization, for a manufacturer. Per unit cost will jump. Secondly, JIT is considered to be a riskier stock management technique than the other one, than bulk buying. JIT is considered to be a riskier stock management technique than bulk buying. JIT is riskier. Why? Why is it riskier? Because for JIT to be effective and successful, it is very important that your workers and your suppliers, they both know how to respond promptly to an order. Right? In JIT, there is a high degree of dependence on workers and suppliers both. That is why we say it is riskier. A high degree of dependence on both workers and suppliers. I hope you understand this point. In JIT, you can't have a laid back approach. Maybe in bulk buying, yes, not in JIT. In JIT, you can't have a laid back approach. In JIT, you have to be alert. Like I said, you should know how to respond promptly, because you don't have a high level of stocks that you can fall back upon. In bulk buying, you can gradually transform your raw material into finished goods. That laid back approach is possible there, but not in JIT. So that is why it is an established fact that JIT is riskier than bulk buying, because there is a lot of dependence on suppliers and workers both. And that is why, for your information, companies that use JIT, they have an alternate arrangement of suppliers. Companies that use JIT, they always try to make sure that they have an alternate arrangement of suppliers. Do you understand this point? They have multiple suppliers. Because if you're dependent on one supplier and he fails to meet the deadline, then this is going to be a disastrous situation for the company or the manufacturer. So when you switch to JIT, when you decide to adopt JIT, then it has to be guaranteed that you have an alternate arrangement of suppliers. You need to have multiple suppliers so that if one supplier fails, you can quickly switch to the other one. And same is the case with the workers. The workers have to be motivated. The workers, they have to be, they have to be skilled. They should know how to respond immediately as soon as an order is placed, because they have to meet a deadline. So good workers, good suppliers, efficient, effective, prompt, that is like a prerequisite. That's like a condition without which it's very difficult to make sure that JIT is successful. So too much dependence on suppliers and workers, that's a drawback. So no economies of scale, that's a drawback. Too much dependence on suppliers and workers, that's of course, that's another drawback. Then something else, and in drawbacks, obviously, JIT can create problems for a business if there is an unanticipated increase in demand, right? If there's an unanticipated increase in demand, if there's a sudden increase in demand, unexpected increase in demand, then it is quite possible that the firm is unable, it is unable to cope up. It is unable to handle that additional workload, that pressure. If you're not mentally prepared and there's an unexpected rise in demand, then that would create serious problems for the business. They won't be able to cope up because the stock levels are low in your warehouses, and doing all that in a very short period of time without any arrangements, that prove to be an uphill task. So that's another limitation, another drawback as far as JIT goes. What else? Transportation costs. Needless to say, in JIT, the transportation costs are expected to be higher. Your transportation costs, they're going to be higher because of repeated orders. When you place an order over and over again, repeatedly, because you're purchasing in smaller chunks, smaller batches, so it is quite possible that your transportation costs jump, your transportation costs increase, right? So that's another drawback. So you can easily see the advantage and drawbacks, they're almost at par. In the end, you can always give your own recommendation. You can favor any option that you feel like, but you should know how to compare the advantage and drawbacks. And you see something about JIT, because all these techniques, lean production, they're Japanese in origin. You see, the Japanese, obviously, as we all know, they have streamlined everything in terms of technology, etc. There are not many loopholes in the system. Everything is, programmed properly, and there's technological advancement. So maybe for the Japanese or the Japanese entrepreneurs, maybe this is workable. Otherwise, if the system is not that stable, and if you feel there are issues or there are loopholes, then bulk buying might be safer. But of course, both have their own pros and cons. So that is just-in-time stock management, right? So this is a separate topic also, and this is a part of lean production as well. Okay, let's continue. The next technique, that is Kaizen, K-A-I-Z-E-N, Kaizen. The next technique is Kaizen. Kaizen means continuous improvement. Kaizen is continuous improvement, right? The literal meaning of Kaizen, K-A-I-Z-E-N, is continuous improvement. And again, these Japanese entrepreneurs, they suggest that there'll be a continuous improvement in business. There'll be a continuous improvement in business if the following two requirements are fulfilled. They say there'll be a continuous improvement in business if the following two are taken care of. And you will realize once I go through these that you are already familiar with these. Because again, this is a part of human resource management section 2. So they say there'll be a continuous improvement in business if, number one, the workers are empowered, empowerment of workers. This is what they are focusing on, empowerment of workers. There'll be continuous improvement in business if the workers are empowered. And what is empowerment of workers? Is there another term for this? Delegation. Delegation of powers. Like I said, we are all familiar with this. We've discussed this in detail. Delegation, which is a great motivational tool. When you decentralize the system, when you delegate powers to your subordinates, what is delegation? Passing down of authority from a higher level of hierarchy to a lower one. That is delegation. And that is empowerment. So Kaizen, there'll be continuous improvement in business if powers are delegated to subordinates by the managers. Managers, if they delegate powers to the subordinates, they can rest assured that there'll be a continuous improvement. And, of course, delegation, a motivational tool, it represents a decentralized structure. All that is relevant here. Decentralized. And this is typical of a democratic style of leadership. So all the advantages of democratic leadership, they're relevant here. When you delegate powers, the motivation level is raised. And especially for larger companies, you have to delegate powers because larger companies cannot be handled autocratically in a centralized way. Larger companies have to be decentralized. Powers have to be delegated. Right? So all those points are relevant here. And one additional point that, workers should be empowered, one additional point is that, sometimes, and I think you will all agree, a worker might be more experienced practically. A worker might be more experienced practically as compared to his manager, right? Practically speaking, a worker might be more experienced than his manager. It is the manager who plans everything. It is the manager who comes up with the idea, but it is the employee, it is the worker who actually executes the plan. The manager says, this is how you should design the chair. And it is the worker who actually manufactures the chair or designs. So since the workers are quite experienced practically, so maybe they qualify for this. They deserve to be to be treated in this way. Deserve to be empowered. Right? So this is what they're suggesting. You empower your workers if you want the situation to improve. So continuous improvement when you empower. And number two, when teamwork is encouraged. Kaizen is a combination of empowerment of workers and teamwork. So the second point to be highlighted is teamwork. If you want an improvement in business, continuous improvement, then teamwork must be encouraged. And as we all know, teamwork is a non-financial motivator, right? Teamwork is a non-financial motivator. As suggested by so many social scientists like Mayo, like McClelland, teamwork is a non-financial motivator. And if you want, you can quote these scientists here. You can refer to their theories just to authenticate the answer. You can mention it. There are renowned social scientists who are great advocates of teamwork. And they promote it, publicize it as a non-financial motivator, teamwork. Right? And what are the advantages of if you encourage teamwork at the workplace, there'll be a support system. The workers, they can make a combined effort. They can work together. They can join hands. They can overcome weaknesses, teamwork. And, the workers, they'll enjoy their job more. They can socialize. They can form informal groups. They can discuss issues other than work also. Right? That's teamwork. So all the plus points, the advantage of teamwork, that can be discussed here. Right? Of course, teamwork is quite effective, though time might be wasted also. Sometimes there are issues. If you have to evaluate, the time might be wasted and the workload might not be shared equally. But generally, teamwork is good. It's a non-financial motivator. Right? So Kaizen says there'll be a continuous improvement in business, again, if powers are delegated to workers and if teamwork is encouraged. That's Kaizen. Right? Now, the next theory, the next concept, that is quality circles. Quality circles. So we've discussed all these techniques again, for those who were not there initially. The main topic is lean production. And it is a blend of 4 independent techniques. So you can always expect a separate question on all of these. But in lean production, all will have to be referred to. So in this context, we have discussed flexible specialism, just-in-time stock management, Kaizen, and the last one is quality circles. Okay. Now, what are these quality circles? Quality circles are discussion groups. You might be familiar with this. Quality circles are discussion groups. Right? Discussion groups which are organized by managers in their respective departments to encourage the participation of employees in the decision-making process. I repeat, these are discussion groups which are formed, which are created by managers with the purpose of encouraging the participation of employees in the decision-making process. Right? That's what the entire technique, the concept of quality circle is all about. Discussion groups. So needless to say, this practice is typical of a democratic style of leadership. This is typical of a democratic style of leadership, right? Only a democratic leader will adopt such a strategy. Only a democratic leader will rely on quality circles or encourage quality circles. An autocratic leader, obviously, he would never like to involve his workers in the decision-making process. Right? So quality circles, absolutely typical of a democratic style of leadership. The workers, they feel motivated. They are a part of the decision-making process. They express their opinion freely. New ideas are generated. A sense of belonging develops. And as a result of this discussion and exchange of views, quality standards improve. Right? Because all of these workers, all of these individuals, members of the organization, the department, they have different skills. They have different kinds of, they specialize in different fields. The experience is different. The expertise is different. Right? So as a result of this consultation and exchange of views, new ideas are generated. And as a result of this, obviously, quality standards should improve, especially if the people who are taking part in the process, they're qualified, they're skilled, and they're competent. You see, an easy way of remembering how you're supposed to attempt this question, just remember this or note it down. The advantages and drawbacks of quality circles, are similar to the advantages and drawbacks of democratic leadership. Right? The advantages and drawbacks of quality circles, they are exactly the same as the advantages and drawbacks of democratic leadership. So I think that makes things easier for you. Now, what is the main advantage of democratic style of management? motivation. So quality circles, obviously, they motivate workers, new ideas, etc. Absolutely similar to what we've already discussed in democratic leadership, right? And then again, it was categorically mentioned there previously also that democratic leadership is strongly recommended, but if the workers are competent enough, the same is the case with quality circles. And the drawbacks, what were the drawbacks of democratic leadership? That, secrecy might be compromised and time might be wasted, and this might cause disorder. And it is not recommended if the workers are not skilled. Same is the case with quality circles. Not recommended if the workers are not skilled. Clear? So quality circles, the discussion groups, which should be created, which should be formed if the workers are good. And, by doing this, it has so many other advantages. Afterwards, if the company, if the management, they enforce something, they take a new step. And if the workers were already on board because of this quality circles technique, they can't complain afterwards. There'll be no surprises for them because they had been already, they had been a part of the decision-making process. Right, everyone? So quality circles, this is technique number 4. Right? So hopefully you have understood lean production. And now you can attempt any question, not only on lean production, on these techniques individually also. JIT, flexible specialism, quality cycles, Kaizen. Right? Okay. Now let's start off with our next topic in section 4. That is called quality control. Let's discuss quality control now. That's a new topic. New topic, quality control, right? So something about quality or quality control. Number one, you should remember the figure 6. There are 6 quality control techniques. Doesn't matter what the product is, what the business is, you will realize, you must have seen this because you have been attempting paper 2s and data response passages. You must have attempted a question or 2 on this. And same is the case with other papers also, case studies also. That usually, you will be required to discuss quality or quality control techniques with reference to a certain business. Sometimes, you're discussing food items, sometimes electronics, sometimes clothes, sometimes another product, another industry. So it doesn't matter what the product or industry is. There are 6 quality control techniques that you must refer to. 6 techniques. 6 quality control techniques. Right? Before I start guiding you through these techniques, we need to learn how the term quality is defined. You see, the words, the terms which are used more commonly, I think I mentioned this before also, they are more difficult to define. The technical terms, in a way, they are easier to define. You memorize the definition and you reproduce it. But the terms which are used, the words which are used very commonly, sometimes you fail to come up with a proper definition of words. Define training, define objective. What does the word planning mean? Such a commonly used term, but how to define it? Planning, objective, aim, training. And this quality also falls in the same category. Quality, this also falls in the same category, right? So just remember that when you're defining the term quality, and people who have just joined, just a quick recap, so we have to be on the same page. Previously we discussed the topics that we've covered in this particular class. There was flexible specialism. There were two types: numerical flexibility, time flexibility, functional flexibility. Then we went through JIT stock management in detail, the advantages and the drawbacks. This was followed by Kaizen, continuous improvement, and then quality circles. Now, at the moment, we've just started discussing the new topic, quality control or quality. So I was just explaining that the definitions are very important. That is the opening sentence of always, almost. How do we define the term quality? So the best definition of quality that I came across, and I strongly recommend, strongly suggest that you should also do the same. This is how you should define quality. Quality is the extent to which, try to remember this definition, quality is the degree to which, or quality is the extent to which, the degree or the extent to which a product comes up to the expectations of the target audience. Right? Quality is the extent to which a product, comes up to the expectations of the target market. Quality is the extent to which a product comes up to the expectations of a particular customer. That's quality. Coming up to the expectations of the target market or a particular customer. Right? This is how you should define quality: the extent or the degree to which a product comes up to the expectations of a particular customer or target market or target audience. That's quality. Right? What we've learned here is, what we are trying to understand here is, by looking at the definition, that quality is always judged from the viewpoint, from the angle of the customer. Quality is supposed to be judged from the viewpoint of the customer. Right? I'll just quote a simple example. Let's suppose there are two customers and they buy identical units of the same product. Two customers, they buy identical units of the same product. Right? Two customers, exactly the same product, identical units. Now, one customer, his expectations are different. Let's suppose that they purchase a pen, for instance, again. One customer expects the pen to be useful for a period of 1 month. Right? His expectations are that this product, this pen, I should be able to use it properly for 1 month. The other customer, his expectations are different. He thought he would be able to use it for 2 months. So identical units of the same product purchased by two different customers with different expectations. In case of one, the expectations, I'll use it for a month. The other, the expectation, I'll use it for 2 months. So they both purchase the identical units of the same product. And the product lasts a month. It expires after a month. So one customer would say, spot on, the quality is just right. He'll be absolutely satisfied and happy with the quality standard. But the response of the other customer, or his comments, would be totally different. He would say the quality is poor. Why? Because their expectations were different. So this is what the definition explains. The quality is judged from the viewpoint of a particular customer, or the expectations of a particular customer. So if it comes up to your expectation, you would say it's a quality product. If it doesn't, you would say the quality is poor. And that is why this explains the behavior that we have all observed at some point. That sometimes, the views of two individuals or different individuals, different customers about the same product, they're totally different. They're contrasting views. Why? Because their expectations were different. This is what the definition means: the extent to which a product comes up to the expectations of a particular customer, right? Okay. Now, like I was mentioning in the beginning, there are 6 quality control techniques. 6 quality control techniques. Technique number 1 is called feed forward quality control. Feed forward, FWD, forward, FORWARD. Feed forward quality control, that is technique number 1. Feed forward quality control. So this technique in feed forward quality control, the focus is on the inputs. In feed forward quality control, the focus of the manufacturer, the buyer, the business, the managers, it is on the inputs. The focus is on the inputs, which means we all know what the term inputs, what that means. It includes workers, raw material, machinery. That's the input. So in feed forward control, the focus is on the inputs, which means that feed forward quality control comes into effect before the production process starts. It comes into effect before the production process starts, right? So that is why we often use the term proactive. Feed forward quality control is a proactive technique. It's a proactive quality control technique. Pro before, re afterwards. So it's a proactive technique. Why? Because it gets underway, it is used, it is applied before the production process starts. Proactive technique. So you try to make sure that you purchase high quality raw material. You try to make sure that you hire skilled workers, specialists. You try to make sure that the machinery that you acquire, it is technologically advanced. So when the inputs are good, there's a high probability that the output will also be good. Right? So this is what feed forward control is. Proactive technique. You try to make sure that the inputs are good, and that will lead to better quality output. So good inputs would lead to a good output. That's the philosophy behind feed forward control, right? That's number 1. Technique number 2 is called, quality control technique number 2 is called concurrent quality control. Concurrent, CONCURRENT. The first one was feed forward. Number 2 is called concurrent, CONCURRENT, concurrent quality control. So in this technique, in concurrent quality control, the ongoing activities are monitored. In this technique, the ongoing activities are monitored. In concurrent quality control, the ongoing activities, they are monitored, right? Ongoing activities. So basically, it suggests that concurrent quality control, this quality control technique is applied during a production process. It is applied during the production process. Feed forward is applied before the production process starts. Concurrent is applied during the production process. The ongoing activities are monitored, right? The ongoing activities, they are monitored. So in this technique, you just keep a check on each and every stage in the production process, right? You supervise everything. Like I said, it's an ongoing process. You will supervise everything closely. And the reason is simple. Always try to find, I've been mentioning this, the answer to why. Always justify your statement. Why should they use feed forward? Why should they do this? So obviously in concurrent quality control, since it's an ongoing process, you can identify problems as soon as they arise. That's the justification. To keep a check on everything, how the workers are performing their duties, how the machinery works, how the raw material is being converted into finished goods. Try to see whether everything is in order. Waste material, raw material is not being wasted. Time is not being wasted, or there shouldn't be any kind of disorder. So the purpose is, in case of concurrent, that if there's something that is out of order, it is spotted and resolved immediately. Identify the problem and find a solution to the problem, resolve it immediately. That's concurrent, right? That's number two. Number three, feedback quality control, feedback. Number three, feedback quality control. Feedback, remember, is a reactive technique. Feedback quality control is a reactive technique. A reactive quality control technique, indicating that it is applied after the production process comes to an end. Right? Feed forward before, concurrent during, feedback afterwards. So feedback quality control is exercised upon completion of the production process. Upon completion of the production process. Right? So that is why we say it's a reactive quality control technique. Because it is applied upon completion of the production process. Once you're done with the production process, then you apply it. So in this technique, in feedback, the procedure is that the company, the manufacturer, or the quality control department, whoever is at the helm of affairs, they would run a quality check as soon as the production process comes to an end, right? In feedback, they will run a quality check as soon as the production process comes to an end. The product is absolutely ready. You can say, just before it is dispatched, just before it is offered for sale to the customers in the open market, you run a quality check in the end, upon completion of the production process, and just before maybe it is loaded onto the lorries and trucks, before it is dispatched. Feedback. So in feedback quality control, just for your information, the procedure is that the company tries to maintain something that they call AQL. The company tries to maintain an AQL. AQL stands for acceptable quality level. In feedback quality control, the company tries to maintain an AQL. AQL in blocks. AQL, it refers to an acceptable quality level. Acceptable quality level. Right? So in feedback quality control, they try to maintain an acceptable quality level, which basically means acceptable quality level that, the container is ready. Like I said, it's about to be dispatched. It is about to be offered for sale to the customers. It is a reactive technique because it is applied upon completion of the production process. So what they're going to do is, let's suppose it's a container of shirts. There are 100,000 shirts in the container. Now they can't examine each and every shirt again. That's not practical. That's not feasible. So what they do is they take a sample out. They extract a sample. So out of those 100,000 shirts, maybe they can select 100 shirts. They can create a sample of 100 shirts there, and they will closely examine those 100 units, those 100 shirts. Closely examine those shirts, just to make sure that the quality standards are up to the mark. And every business organization, it has its AQL. Like I said, acceptable quality level. And usually it is very high. For instance, the quality level, the AQL is 96%. 96%. Let's suppose this is the quality standard set by the managers for the employees. The AQL is 96%. So in that sample of 100 shirts, if 96 shirts are up to the mark, and if 96 shirts, they have absolutely, they have no defects, no flaws, you will give a green signal to the entire container because the consignment has met its AQL. This is how it works. The product is ready. Just before it is dispatched, you run a quality check and you try to see whether AQL is being maintained. You take a sample out, and if it's 96%, you try to see that if 4 shirts are defective in 100, that is acceptable. But if it exceeds that, then no, you have to fix the problem first. Right? So we're discussing quality control here. After defining the term, we went through 3 quality control techniques. feed-forward quality control, focusing on the inputs. Concurrent quality control, the ongoing activities are monitored. And number 3 is feedback quality control, the reactive technique. When the process comes to an end, then you run a quality check. And overall, there are 6 techniques in quality control. And before that, obviously, we went through lean production, and we covered those techniques: JIT, flexible specialism, Kaizen, and quality circles. I keep updating this so that, students who join late, we're on the same page and they have an idea about what we've covered so far. Right? And again, at the cost of repeating myself, whenever we have our monthly assessments, the pattern, it's going to be paper 2. Paper 2 is the pattern. You'll get a passage, and all the questions will be based on that passage. You will refer to the context and attempt those questions. We are all familiar with the pattern of paper 2. Okay, then the 4th technique, that's called benchmarking. Benchmarking. BENCH, benchmarking. Very commonly followed technique, quality control, benchmarking. Benchmarking, you see, in this quality control technique, quality standards are set in accordance with the performance level of a leading competitor in the industry. I repeat, in benchmarking, quality standards are set in accordance with the performance level of a leading competitor in the industry. That's benchmarking. That you try to see what a strong leading competitor in the industry is doing, and accordingly you set standards for your own business also, so that your own performance level is also raised. This is benchmarking. Very useful, very effective. That, for example, if Pepsi, if they have to benchmark, they will keep the performance of Coke in mind. Right? Coke is selling 3.5 million bottles a day. That's our benchmark. Very common and quite useful. Right? Setting standards in terms of the performance level of a leading competitor in the industry. That's benchmarking. And the reason is obvious. What is justification? What is the reason? That when you do that, your own performance level is also raised. Obviously, I think we should all agree that when you are competing with someone, you are up against someone who is stronger or better, your own performance also improves. And when you are competing against someone who is inferior, there are chances that your performance level also drops. So this is the philosophy behind benchmarking. You try to focus, try to see what better competitors, stronger competitors are doing, and you try to set standards accordingly. So no doubt about it, very useful technique when it comes to, setting standards and all. This is a useful technique, no doubt about it. But you see, the point is that in benchmarking, yes, you walk in the footsteps of your leading competitors in the industry, and you hope that your performance will also improve. But one must not do this blindly, right? One has to be cautious. One needs to be cautious regarding this, right? Don't just follow your competitors blindly. Give importance to your own circumstances also. You must give importance to your own circumstances also. Learn from them, try to follow them, try to upgrade your performance, but also give importance to your circumstances. When I say circumstances, I'm referring to the financial position of the business, your finances, your long-term strategies, everything. Because you see, nowadays, benchmarking is being done in terms of so many different variables. We have benchmarking in terms of location. That, if your competing company, the competing firm, they choose a certain location, you will also try to do the same. We've seen this in case of, so many businesses, bakeries, shoe stores, clothing. That there's a bakery, and then the close competitor, he will also try to choose the same location. Any outlet in competition. So benchmarking could be done in terms of number of outlets or the location. Benchmarking could be done in terms of the marketing techniques that are being used. How many billboards do they have? What kind of ads are they launching? Or what kind of specialists are they hiring? What is the size of, of their workforce? That's benchmarking, right? So useful, but at the same time, like I said, give due importance to your own circumstances also, so that you don't commit a mistake and you don't fall in their trap in a way. So that's number 4. The 5th technique in quality control is TQM, total quality management. By the way, there are 6 quality control techniques, and we have already discussed the 6th one. That is quality circles, the ones that we just covered about half an hour back. Quality circles is a part of lean production. Quality circles, remember, is a part of quality control also. Those discussion groups, they lead to higher quality standards. So all that discussion that we just had about 30, 40 minutes back in quality circles, all that discussion is relevant to the 6th quality control technique also. Remember, quality circles is a quality control technique also. So that will be your 6th technique. So number 5, that is called TQM, total quality management. Number 5 is total quality management, right? Total quality management is a quality control technique that says, TQM is a quality control technique that says that everyone in the organization, all the members of the organization, are responsible for upgrading the quality standards overall. I repeat, TQM says that everyone in the organization, all the members of the organization, are duty bound, they're responsible for upgrading the overall quality standards of the business. Right? So basically, TQM is suggesting that quality control is not the responsibility of just one quality assurance department only. TQM says that quality control is not the responsibility of one department only, the quality control department or the quality assurance department. It is the joint responsibility of everyone in the organization. It is a combined responsibility, the joint responsibility of all the members of the organization together. That they have to improve upon their quality standards. Generally, the entire organization is their responsibility. You have to make a combined effort for this. Don't keep yourself isolated. Total quality management. I'll quote an example. You see, under normal circumstances, if TQM is not there, the 2 departments, there's production, there's sales. Sales and production, 2 departments. Now, production is responsible for manufacturing. Sales is responsible for selling, right? Production manufactures, sales, they sell under normal circumstances. But if TQM is enforced, then when the production people hand something over to the sales department, when the production department hands something over to the sales department, in TQM, the sales department will first examine the quality of that product, and then they will try to sell it. Right? That is what TQM is all about. Under normal circumstances, the salespeople will sell, the production people will manufacture, that's it. But if TQM is enforced, then the sales department, when they receive a consignment from the production department, they will try to sell it only if they are happy with the quality standards, not otherwise. Right? They will examine the product, and if they're not happy with it, they will return it, or they will report it, whatever the procedure is. That's TQM. It is the joint responsibility of everyone in the organization to make sure that the company makes progress, and together they will take the company forward, not individually. That's TQM. Joint responsibility is on the shoulders of everyone in the organization. And just, the comment, very useful, but only if it is done in a professional way. If TQM is enforced in a professional way, and generally you try to pinpoint problems, keeping in mind the interest of the company generally overall, then TQM will work. But if you start settling your personal scores with others, and your opinion is biased, and personalized, then of course TQM will never produce the desired results. Right? If you're bent upon launching a complaint against someone or some department, then of course you will find, sooner or later, you will find something. But if you do it in the best interest of the organization, that is recommended. Right? So these are the 5, and of course, all 6 techniques. I repeat, the definition of quality control was the extent to which a product comes up to the expectations of a particular customer. Memorize the definition. So quality control techniques: feed forward, concurrent, feedback, benchmarking, total quality management, and quality circles, the discussion groups that we just discussed, with lean production also. All right, everyone? Okay. Now, something about the next topic. The next topic in operation methods in section 4, that is stock management. You can call it stock management. You may call it inventory management, inventory management, if you may. And whatever we are going to discuss this point onwards, there are approximately six different points to be covered here. All that comes under stock management or inventory management, right? Because the question commonly found on stock management, usually this is how it is phrased: discuss the factors that contribute towards effective stock management. Discuss the factors that contribute towards effective stock management. So all the following factors that we'll discuss, some of the factors will be discussed in this class, some of the factors we'll discuss in the next class, whenever we'll have the next class on Monday, inshallah. So whatever we are going to discuss, a few factors will be discussed now and the remaining factors next time. All these factors, they contribute towards effective stock management. But before we start discussing those factors, we should know how to define the term inventory management or stock management. The definition is of stock management: it is the purchase, there are 4 aspects: purchase, processing, storage, and release. I repeat, just to define stock management in a technically correct way. Stock management is the purchase, processing, storage, and release. Purchase, processing, storage, and release of raw material, semi-finished goods, and finished goods. Purchase, processing, storage, and release of raw material, semi-finished goods, and finished goods. Raw material, semi-finished goods, and finished goods, in accordance with the prevailing market conditions. In accordance with the prevailing market conditions. This is the technically correct definition of stock management. Right? I repeat, what is stock management? Purchase, processing, storage, and release of raw material, semi-finished goods, and finished goods, in accordance with the prevailing market conditions. Right? That is stock management, inventory management, or stock management. Okay, let's see. Like I was just explaining, stock management, the question is, discuss the factors that contribute towards effective stock management. So the following factors contribute towards effective stock management, right? Number 1, there are different subheadings, there are different topics, and we'll combine all these for stock management. First of all, the first subheading is purchasing policies. Purchasing policies. Again, what are we discussing? Factors that affect stock management, factors that contribute towards effective stock management. The first factor, that is the purchasing policies that are used by a business. Always remember that purchase or purchasing, or the role of a purchase manager, It is extremely important and highly sensitive. Because what is the job of a purchase manager? To purchase the best quality material at the lowest possible price. That's the job of a purchase manager, a purchase department. Acquire the best possible material at the lowest possible price. So you can well imagine how important the job is. Best possible quality at the lowest possible price. That's what they're hired for. Okay. So there are three purchasing policies that can be followed, that can be used, that can be adopted by a manufacturer, by a business, of course, as a part of stock management. Let me explain all three. And one of these, actually, you are already familiar with that also. I'll tell you which one. Okay. So the first purchasing policy is something that we call contract buying. The first purchasing policy is contract buying. The first one is contract buying, contract, right? As the name suggests, contract buying is the one, this is a purchasing policy in which all the terms and conditions, of course, between the buyer and the seller, all the terms and conditions between the buyer and the seller are finalized beforehand. I repeat, we are discussing purchasing policies here as a part of stock management. Purchasing policy, number one is called contract buying. It says all the terms and conditions between the buyer and the seller are finalized beforehand. Beforehand means in advance. That everything is decided in advance. All the terms and conditions, for example, the price, the terms of delivery, transportation, insurance, who is responsible for the protection or safety or insurance, everything. Right? So when all the terms and conditions are finalized beforehand between the buyer and the seller, we call it contract buying. Right? The buyer says, okay, I have a construction company. I will purchase cement from your company throughout 2020, but the terms and conditions will be finalized right now. And the reason is obvious. I keep emphasizing, always give reasons, always give the justification for whatever you're discussing. So the justification is simple in contract buying. What is justification? That contract buying adds the element of certainty or security to a transaction. It brings security or the element of certainty. Certainty is the key word here. That you can plan ahead easily. Now you know exactly this is what the price is, not going to fluctuate. These are the terms and conditions, transport costs, etc., etc. Everything is decided beforehand. So afterwards, even if the market conditions change, your contract will remain unaffected. So that is something quite useful. It brings certainty or security to a business. Contract buying, right? That's one purchasing policy. Number two is called speculative or bulk buying. Speculative or bulk buying, that's number two. Speculative buying or bulk buying. And we all know what the word speculation means. To speculate is to predict, to forecast. So speculative or bulk buying, that's purchasing policy number two. Speculative or bulk buying. Right? So basically, speculative buying or bulk buying means that a manufacturer, he purchases material in bulk, in a large quantity, because he wants to enjoy two advantages. A manufacturer, he acquires raw material in a large quantity, in bulk, because he wants to enjoy two advantages. Number one, he's speculating, or it is his estimate that if I buy it now, I will benefit afterwards when the prices rise. Companies, people, investors do this all the time. They purchase stuff at a low price and then they store it also, and they might sell it afterwards at a high price. So that is speculative buying. They might try to take advantage of a fluctuation in prices afterwards. That could be one possible reason. And number two, I think you can all guess, economies of scale. The second reason is economies of scale. When you purchase in bulk, obviously you get discounts from the suppliers. The average cost will be lower. You will enjoy economies of scale. Right? So that's speculative buying or bulk buying. For economies of scale, and you're speculating that afterwards, when the prices change, you can take advantage of this. Right? Number three, the third purchasing policy is called hand-to-mouth buying. Hand-to-mouth, hand-to-mouth. Hand-to-mouth buying is purchasing policy number three, hand-to-mouth buying. And I'll just give you the main features, and in a second, you will guess what I'm referring to. Hand-to-mouth buying means purchase material in accordance with the immediate requirement. When you purchase material in accordance with the immediate requirement, you call it hand-to-mouth buying. Whenever material is purchased in accordance with the immediate requirement, we call it hand-to-mouth buying. And today we had a detailed discussion on this strategy when we were doing JIT stock management. After flexible specialism, we had a detailed discussion on just-in-time stock management, a very important topic. Hand-to-mouth buying is JIT stock management. So all that we learned today, the advantage, drawbacks, there were about 8-9 points, all are relevant here. Then hand-to-mouth buying, you've adopted a JIT stock management approach, just in time. You're purchasing material just in time, in accordance with the immediate requirement, not in bulk. You're maintaining a low level of stocks. And all those advantages that we discussed. It brings flexibility, your cash flow position improves, the stock holding costs go down, the drawbacks, no economies of scale, right? Risky because too much dependent on suppliers and workers. All that discussion we had with reference to JIT is relevant here also. So these are three purchasing policies as a part of stock management: contract buying, speculative buying, and speculative buying. And the last one is hand-to-mouth buying, right? So in JIT stock management and just-in-time, all those advantages and drawbacks that we discussed, that purchase material in accordance with the immediate requirement, all those are relevant here, right? So stock management, first you'll define the term: purchase, processing, storage, and release of raw materials, semi-finished goods, and finished goods, in accordance with the ongoing situation, right? Then, of course, I mentioned that the following factors contribute towards effective stock management, and these factors, the first one is purchasing policies. In purchasing policies, we just went through speculative buying, hand-to-mouth buying, and of course, contract buying, right? All these policies, they make a valuable contribution towards better stock management, right? And the next subheading should be economic order quantity, EOQ. Just write down EOQ, or economic order quantity. EOQ, or economic order quantity. That's the next point to be discussed here, economic order quantity, as a part of stock management. And then we'll discuss one more. And we'll continue with this in the next class. Okay. But remember, whatever we've discussed here, just develop this habit. You must revise this. I keep mentioning this, and I will keep on emphasizing. Even if you have hopefully understood what we have discussed here or in the previous classes, unless you keep it fresh, unless you keep revising it, use relevant written material, keep revising it, then you will understand it better. And ideally do it right after or soon after we've had a discussion. In this way, you will retain it in a more effective way. Just develop this habit. This will prove to be extremely useful in the long run, right? So the next point, the next subheading, we are discussing the factors that contribute towards effective stock management. That is called economic order quantity, EOQ, or economic order quantity. Economic order quantity, or EOQ. Remember, EOQ, or economic order quantity, is the ideal size of an order. And I explained in the class, the on-campus class also, the word ideal, if you want to use the word ideal, use the word optimum. Optimum is ideal, very commonly used in business. So EOQ is the optimum size of an order, the ideal size of an order. EOQ, economic order quantity, is the ideal size of an order, or the optimum size of an order, that is obviously placed by a manufacturer with a supplier of raw material, right? So EOQ is the ideal size of an order, which should be determined by giving importance to all the relevant factors. You should determine the ideal size of the order by giving importance to all the relevant factors. What are the relevant factors that would help you with this decision? The relevant factors are size of the warehouse, how much storage space is available. Relevant factors are what is your cash flow position, availability of funds. Relevant factors are what is the nature of the product? Is it a perishable item? What is the shelf life? Relevant factors are what is the purchasing pattern of customers, so on and so forth. So EOQ is the ideal size of an order, which is decided after giving importance to all the relevant factors, right? So with reference to stock management, if you want to have an effective stock management, if you want to have inventory management that is actually going to make a positive contribution towards the performance of the business, then you must determine the EOQ carefully. For better stock management, a company must have an idea about EOQ. With experience, you will learn that how many units or what should be the quantity that I should purchase in one go. This is EOQ. You know, if in 1 year, if I know I have to purchase 100,000 kilograms, I will have to break it down into smaller chunks. This is what businesses do. They might not purchase all 100,000 units or 100,000 kilograms in one go. They might break it down into 8 or 10 orders. That, you know, ideally, I should purchase 12,000 units at one time. This suits me. This is my EOQ, according to the storage space, financial position, etc. So if you want good stock management, make sure you calculate the EOQ carefully. So after purchasing policy, you will discuss EOQ. Then one more point for today, and then we'll continue with this in the next class also, the same topic. Give the next subheading, reorder level slash lead time. In fact, I would say reorder level slash lead time slash buffer stock. We'll discuss these three together. Reorder level, lead time, buffer stock. Right? Okay. Now, this particular term, reorder level, all these factors, like I said, they're contributing towards effective stock management. What is this reorder level? This also plays an important part in improving your stock management. Reorder level means that a company or a manufacturer should have a fairly accurate idea. He should have a precise idea about the stock level at which a fresh order needs to be placed. Right? What is reorder level? Reorder level is the stock level in your warehouses at which a fresh order needs to be placed. That is your reorder level. The stock level at which a fresh order needs to be placed immediately. With experience, a business will obviously have an idea that in my warehouse, when I'm left with, let's suppose, 7,500 units, you know that there's a warehouse, and when we are left with 7,500 units, this is when I place a new order. That is your reorder level. Reorder level is the stock level at which a fresh order needs to be placed right away. So, you know, if the maximum capacity is 50,000 units, and when it drops to 7,500, for example, that is the alarm for you that you place an order right now. So with experience, all businesses learn that when we are left with this much in our possession, this is when we should place a new order. So by the time we use this, the delivery is made, and then we can use the space again. So if you want good stock management, focused, objective-oriented stock management, reorder level must be determined carefully. And with reorder level, I've mentioned two other terms. The lead time will also be calculated automatically. What is this lead time, LEAD? What is lead time? Lead time is the duration from the point when the order is placed. Lead time is the duration from the point when the order is placed to the point when the delivery is made. I repeat, lead time is the duration from the point when the order is placed to the point when the delivery is made. So if I place an order on the 30th of September and the delivery is made on the 5th of October, the lead time is 5 days. So if you want to meet your deadlines, if you want to improve on your time management when you're managing stocks, you have to calculate the lead time, and you can see lead time and reorder level, they're linked, because you will determine the reorder level keeping in mind the lead time. That, you know, when you place an order, you have to wait for a few days, for a few weeks, sometimes few months before the delivery is made. So reorder level has to be calculated carefully, and the lead time also, right? If you want to meet your deadlines. And the last point that we have mentioned here, that's buffer stock. You know, in stock management and inventory management, if you want to minimize the risk factor, if you want to reduce the risk factor, if you want to minimize the risk factor, you must calculate the buffer stock, and you must have a buffer stock in your possession. What is buffer stock? Buffer stock is the minimum level of stocks that must be maintained by a business for meeting emergencies. I repeat, buffer stock is the reserve stock. It is the minimum level of stocks that must be maintained by a business for meeting emergencies. You know, buffer stock is something that you fall back upon. That's your buffer stock. That's your buffer stock. For emergencies, you should maintain a buffer stock, right? For good stock management, if you want to reduce the risk factor, you should have something in reserve. So, you know, maybe 2,500, 3,000, if the capacity is 50,000, like we just quoted an example, it varies from company to company, and the reorder level is 7,500, maybe 2,500 is your buffer stock. So at any point in time, you should have 2,500 units in your possession for meeting emergencies if there's a crisis. This buffer stock is not used under normal circumstances. Remember this. Buffer stock is used only in case of an emergency. You just maintain this for the rainy days. So this is another factor that contributes towards effective stock management, right? So this should be good enough. We'll continue with stock management, after which we'll discuss another very important topic in section 4, those network diagrams, critical path analysis. But first, we'll finish this in our next class. And the next subheading, just note it down so that next time we know exactly this is where we'll start from. It is capacity utilization. In stock management, we are left with just 2 points. One is capacity utilization. The other one is outsourcing. Capacity utilization and outsourcing. We'll discuss these 2 points next time. So I hope you have understood everything. Let's keep revising this. And I've already mentioned that whenever we have the assessments, it's going to be paper 2. So just keep revising everything. And if there's something that you do not understand, make sure you bring it to my knowledge and we'll discuss it. All right, this is it for now. Allah Hafiz.